Eighth grade, I began walking with one shoulder lower than the other. I went to the doctor and was informed my spine was curved 20 degrees. They offered immediate surgery, however, my mom was afraid. Ninth and 10th grade, it became noticeably worse, causing extreme pain in my back and hips. My mom took me back to the doctors and they said that the degree of curvature had increased to more than 60 degrees and surgery was needed. Without it, I would risk having heart and lung complications. In 10th grade, my mom agreed to the surgery. The night before surgery, my family and I watched television, which kept me from focusing on the procedure. The morning of surgery, my sister braided my hair while the nurses waited for my body to heat up. Once I was warm, they moved me to the pre-op room. While there, my mom and sister prayed in hopes for a successful surgery. Afterwards, the doctor arrived and asked how I was feeling. It was this point the medicine kicked in, causing my words to slur. The last thing I remember before falling to sleep was my sister asking the doctor if she could pray over his hands. He allowed her to pray over his hands, and I went into a deep sleep. While in surgery, my family stayed at the hospital. Approximately 12 hours later, I woke up from surgery and was in a lot of pain. A nurse came in and asked me how I was feeling and told me I had to walk. I stood up, and as soon as I took a step, I felt a tearing sensation in my shoulder. I know it sounds crazy, but I could have sworn it was the rod coming out of my back through my shoulder. I cried and continuously screamed the rod. I begged the nurses to stop making me walk, but they forced me to walk to a chair. If I was to lay in a certain spot for too long, I would get a blood clot. Once I made it to the chair, I continued to cry. The nurses left me in the room for about 10 minutes, and one of them returned with a wheelchair. She told me that I had to get into it, and I started crying all over again, simply because I had to stand up and walk. I eventually stood up and made it back to the room I was in the night before. I sat up on the bed and watched television all day, every day. However, things got rough once it came time to eat. Every nurse I had practically forced me to eat, and every time I did, I felt like it never digested. Therefore, I completely stopped eating food and just drank fluids. After a week of being in the hospital, they finally discharged me, and I was overwhelmed with joy. Over the course of the next week or two, I still wasn't eating. My diet consisted of fluids, two vitamins, and maybe a protein shake or fruit snacks. The lack of nutrients caused me to be really weak and made it difficult for me to walk. Having no control over your own body is one of the worst feelings in the world. Being restricted from so many things made simple activities such as brushing my teeth, washing my face, showering, and even getting dressed a task. My life became a constant series of squats, kneeling, and stiff motions. About a week and a half after getting out of the hospital, I was still having trouble sleeping. One night I was tossing and turning because it was extremely hot in my room and my fan wasn't helping. I went to turn away with my back towards the fan and I suddenly felt a draft. I called my mom in the room because something just didn't feel right. My mom came in the room and practically passed out. My stitches had popped. She rushed and got her phone and made a call to the nurses from the hospital. I started crying immediately because I was scared to know what was going to happen. The nurses told my mom not to panic and to bring me in the next morning. In the morning, my mom took me to the hospital. When the doctor saw me, he took a sample of the stitch in the exposed area to take to the lab, just to make sure there was no infection. During that time, they told me I couldn't eat, drink, or take any medications. I cried for about 4 hours straight because Dr. Cahill then told me he had to finish up another spinal fusion and I had to stay one night in the hospital. The wait isn't what upset me. It was the fact that I had to stay a night in this hellhole. After 4 hours of tears, they took me in a room to prep me for surgery once again. They struggled to find a vein to put the IV in, so I ended up having an IV in my foot. Although they gave me laughing gas to prevent discomfort, I most definitely felt pain. 5 hours later, I woke up from surgery and saw my mom in the room. It was late at night, and after hours of sleeping, I was still tired, so I figured I would just sleep the night through. I woke up in the morning, and Dr. Cahill had sent a nutritionist because he was concerned with my drastic weight loss. The nutritionist encouraged me to keep pushing the protein shakes and multivitamins to gain some strength back. I took the nutritionist's advice and began drinking protein shakes more and tried to remember to take my vitamins every day. Slowly but surely, I gained my strength, weight, and appetite back. By the month of August, I was beginning to feel myself again. It was a minor setback for a major comeback. I am now feeling stronger and better than ever as I prepare for my senior year of high school and graduation.